Hi, babe. Welcome to the Horror Babe Show. I'm your host, Chelsea Beller, and for our very first episode, we have Mike Monaghan on the show. Mike is a photographer, cinematographer, digital editor, the media production team for this show, and he's my boyfriend. Mike and I discuss all things monster related, so that means Godzilla, Alien, Predator, the basics. We talk about how it all began for Mike, and we discuss how we really feel about that new Alien home invasion movie, No One Can Save You. Stay tuned. I didn't mean to copy her hair, but I feel like I did.
It's your Babe Show podcast. It's you.
I know. Hi, welcome to the Horror Babe Show. I'm your host, Chelsea Beller, and today's guest is Mike Monaghan.
Yay.
Mike Monaghan is my boyfriend, and he set this whole space up. It's quite impressive. I know you can't see everything, but I'm impressed, and that's really saying something. I guess a little bit about me. So I've always been into horror, and I haven't always been able to embrace my love of horror to the extent that I've wanted to. And it's only been in the last couple of years that I've really been able to embrace it and deep dive and show it, and that is partially because of you. Because you're welcome. Because Mike, if you don't know Mike, he is so passionate about movies and TV shows and Godzilla and toys and these things that mean so much to him, and they're a part of his life. And I mean, movies are a part of all of our lives. It's how we relate to each other, I think. And it's obviously for entertainment. And it's really special how deep you go, to the extent that there are toys surrounding us right now. I think the shot is a little too close to see everything, but you'll get the idea. Do you want to share where this started? Even though I already know, but why don't you tell our viewers out there where it all began?
Oh, man. I don't think I can remember that far back at this point. I've always collected toys. Even as a younger little lad, my toy collection was more of a collection and not so much playthings. If they were playthings, I would set them up in like scenes and then not touch
the way they are now.
Yeah, exactly. They'd be in little dioramas or scenes or something, and then I would just kind of look at it and I wouldn't play with it. And then it's kind of, when you put it that way, it makes sense, because that's essentially I was taking a picture without taking a picture back then, and now I am a photographer full time and have been for many years. And it started by me getting a camera while in graphic design school and taking a photography course, and some of the photos I took in that class were of my toys, which just kind of led from one thing to another. And when I was practicing, it would be a lot on my toys, and it kind of taught me how to compose and light things and stuff. And then I actually went to school for photography after that, degree of graphic design, and that really kind of put me on the path to learning, really like honing in my skills, I guess. But then I dropped out of school and got a job from one of my teachers, who got me the job because she told me to drop out because I didn't need to be getting a piece of paper to say I'm a photographer. And so that kind of just led my career into professional photography, and I've been doing it ever since, and it's brought me all over the world, and actually has allowed me to meet the makers of the monsters that I grew up loving and have built real relationships with these people and kept in contact with them and like worked with them at times. And it's all thanks to my love for these monsters that I would grow up watching movies of every day and setting my toys up to be maybe a scene or my own interpretation of something or whatever while a movie's playing. Yeah.
What is the movie that's playing?
It could be anything from Godzilla to Jaws to Jurassic Park to Ninja Turtles. You can't consider that a monster movie, but maybe some could. To really anything at this point. Yeah, it's hard to say because it was whatever AMC had on Friday night.
Well, you've told me that your dad introduced you to Godzilla.
Yeah.
And I would classify Godzilla under horror in like the monster movie like subgenre, wouldn't you?
Depending on where you shop for your movies or check out movies, sometimes he was in the horror section as well. But yeah, depending on the movie too, he could be very much horror. And my dad, I was obsessed with dinosaurs when I was a baby. Jurassic Park hadn't come out yet. It was a little bit, I was born before that time.
So old.
I know. It's so wild to imagine a world before Jurassic Park.
Land Before Time.
Yeah, Land Before Time was all I had access to. And a couple other things here and there, I guess. But one day my dad just decided to introduce me to Godzilla. For the people listening and who are Godzilla fans, I like to believe my first Godzilla movie was Godzilla versus Biollante because that's what I very vividly remember.
Yeah.
But
which we watched recently. I watched it for the first time and I really enjoyed it.
It's a masterpiece.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's good. But I've been told that either King Kong versus Godzilla or Godzilla versus Megalon, which he has seen King Kong but not Megalon, are my two first, either one of those. But I have a very vivid memory of Biollante scenes from my childhood, and they're just like burned into my brain and etched in there. So yeah.
And what was like your first I want to say like slasher or like typical 80s horror film that you first saw or like fell in love with?
I was actually terrified of the slashers for the longest time. Anytime a 90s Michael Myers or Jason or Freddy movie commercial came on TV, I'd bolt out of the room. Or I remember my neighbors were watching a Freddy marathon one day, and I was just like avoiding the screen at all costs by walking by and like somehow just turning my body to
blinders on.
Be loud so I can't hear it. So I was like avoidant of those for a long time. And then I saw Predator 2 one day while I was waiting for a Godzilla movie to come on. And Stan Winston was chatting between commercial breaks about these monsters. And at the time, I don't think I understood that he had made the Predator. But he was talking about this thing, and it was like right when you first see its face for the first time after the subway scene and all that. And I had no idea what I was watching. No, actually, it was the scene where he does King Willie's decapitation, and I see this invisible thing standing on water, but I don't know what I'm seeing. And then all of a sudden, this guy's head's cut off and his skull's put on a wall. And later on, I grow up to see a xenomorph skull on that wall, and it's like, whoa. But no, that Predator and Predator 2 are considered slasher movies in my opinion, but horror sci-fi thriller at the same time.
Yeah.
The first Predator is definitely a slasher movie in the jungle, and I would say that was what introduced me to it, which we'll get back to that later because I guess that's not exactly how it started, but that's probably where my entryway was. And then once I saw Alien and Predator, I got way more brave and I started marathoning the Freddy, the Jason movies, the Texas Chainsaw movies. Yeah. Those were my Halloween, yes, but I didn't like it much till I got older because it was too slow for me. I got more appreciative as I got older because I was a child.
Sure.
Yeah, but I get it now, and it's good stuff. At least
do you get it now?
Yes. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Michael. We actually went to his house.
Yes.
Which was an amazing experience. Why don't you talk about that?
Yeah, so that's one of the things I kind of alluded to when I said I got to work with some of the monster makers. I was given the incredible opportunity to work with director, writer Michael Dougherty, who is known for writing X-Men 2 and a couple other like superhero movies here and there and some other things, but mostly for Trick or Treat, that classic. He wrote and directed that. And also Godzilla King of the Monsters, which is my favorite MonsterVerse American Godzilla film of the recent entries. And got to have coffee with Mike and meet him. And
how did that start, though?
He and I were following each other on Instagram. He followed me after I had commented on like, one of his videos from a premiere of Godzilla or something like that. And
didn't he like one of your pictures or something?
He followed and liked a picture of mine.
Yeah.
I just had the balls to reach out and say, hey, thanks for the follow. I'm a big fan. Sent him a picture of my Godzilla toy like a nerd. And then also sent him a link to my toy photography of monsters and just said, would love to grab a coffee or get in touch someday. And a year or two later, because of the pandemic, he reached out for a coffee day one day. He saw some photos I'd posted of Godzilla's head popping out of the Cinerama Dome during advertising for King of the Monsters. He'd asked if he could have some high-res copies of that, and we had totally made a deal there, and then we had coffee too. And a couple months after coffee, he reached out to say he needed photos for a interview he was doing for a TV Guide spin-off magazine called Rewind, I believe.
Rewind. Oh, well, it's right here.
It's right here.
Remind
magazine, and they did October of that year was a Halloween themed issue, and he asked me to come take photos of him in his space because he rented out the room where Michael kills his sister in the first movie, and that's his office where he writes now in Pasadena, California. And he asked me to come shoot those photos, and we did, and now they're published in this magazine here. And,
which signatures his? I always forget. The red one. Yeah,
signed by all the contributors for this magazine, and that was a really fun day, and it was also really hot.
It was, and
like that,
something like that. Yeah. And I got to come with you.
Yeah, shot photos of him and his new puppy that he had just got days before. Yeah. And he was a cutie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm gonna talk a little bit about myself here, but it is, isn't it? So this is the spread. And you have a picture of this on your Instagram, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay. And there's some beautiful shots of Mike and his puppy dog in his office and outside the home. And the home has been like really nicely like repainted and everything. It's just gorgeous now. But Mike, I'm sorry if you don't like people knowing this, but he has a Michael Myers mask. And he will wear it and spook people from his office window. And it was your idea?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we were going to put him on the porch, Mike on the porch, and
Mike Dougherty on the porch.
I said it would be really great if Michael was looking down from the window.
Michael Myers.
Yeah, and it was perfect because we had a model that could fill the space for that to wear the mask. This is a screen used mask from one of the movies. We never figured out exactly which.
Yeah, but it was I think it was signed or something inside, and I was too timid to take a picture or anything. I mean, you wouldn't be able to see it from here, but
we could put a graphic up for the viewers.
Yeah, I think that would be good.
Video one.
Hey, we're doing an audio and visual podcast. So if you want to see what we're doing, you can. But if you just want to listen to us are really sexy, brassy voices, then you can do that too.
Her voice. I'm not here all the
time. Yeah, just me. But yeah, that's me in the window, and it's my claim to fame.
Yeah.
I have a few claims to fames. Alien is one of your favorite movies. When were you first introduced to Alien? How and why? And tell us about your collection, because it's pretty great.
Yeah. Alien was a interesting one for me for a while, because it was one of those things where I mentioned earlier about Godzilla being in the horror section sometimes, and I would have to check at my local library where I would get most of my Godzilla rentals. I would have to check the horror section, and A is pretty close to G, and Alien always was there, and the cover with the egg glowing with just the text Alien and that weird grid underneath it.
We'll throw up the graphic.
As a little child, just creeped the crap out of me. And then Predator was there too, and that was just text with red Predator. Predator 2 was more ominous in my opinion, but that just hit a core for me, and I was like, it was one of those, like, kind of mentioned earlier, where I didn't look at it when I walked by. I would avoid it or turn away from it.
Just a glowing green egg?
Yeah, it just creeped me the heck out. I don't know why. Just
because you didn't know what was in the egg?
Yeah, because you know that something's going to come out of that egg, and it's not going to be good. And
yolk?
It wasn't. But yeah, it finally, one day I got older one day. It's crazy. I aged.
Wow.
And, we were on a road trip to Sacramento to visit my grandparents after, I believe it was the summer after 9/11. So we were not flying anywhere, my family, and we're from Seattle. So we drove down, and we ended up in doing a family day in Old Town Sacramento and we had to found an arcade there. And that was of course, my brother and I's gravitational, that's where we wanted to be, instead of all these gift shops that had the same thing over and over again. But I finally had the balls to look at this Alien versus Predator arcade game that was sitting there, and I was just looking at the screen playing itself or whatever, the animations and stuff. Right. And I was like, this looks so cool. I don't understand. There's these bug monsters, and then there's this other guy. Obviously, if you're a fan of the franchise, you know that the Alien versus Predator arcade game is not really much like the movies, but it still was enough for me to ask my dad, what is Alien and what is Predator, on this spring break vacation I'm on with my family at my grandparents' retirement home. And my dad and I doing mini golf or something in this retirement place community, and I just asked him that question: what are these Aliens and Predator movies? And my adult self now would be pissed because he spoiled everything. He told me every detail. He told me this crab spider monster comes out of an egg after he looks into a thing, and then the thing puts a thing inside of him and shoots out of his chest in front of everybody, and everyone was scared. Spoilers for Alien. So I would be pissed at my dad if it were me today, but I was 13, I believe, or 12, and it was just everything he said was the most amazing, awesome, coolest thing I'd ever heard in my life. There's an alien that's the size of a T-Rex. What the heck? Oh my god.
Is it that big?
Yeah. It's just about give or take. And so things like that, or he got all the way through the end of Alien Resurrection. At the time was the last movie that was out, so there was no Alien versus Predator movies or Alien Covenant and Prometheus as yet. Only had Predator 2 was the last Predator movie. My dad told me a lot about those two movies, and we got home from that trip on a Saturday night or a Sunday, and I had begged them to take me to Blockbuster that night so I could rent at least Alien or something, and we watched Alien as a family, and could clearly tell my mom was not enjoying herself, but she liked to play it off as she didn't like it, but I think she just was too scared.
She wasn't a big horror fan.
She was not a big horror fan. So anyways, we watched it as a family, and then I think either within a week or so, we're watching Aliens, or I'm watching Aliens, and that same time frame, I happened to see Predator is playing on Showtime or HBO or something, and I we don't have DVR yet, so I have to sit down and watch it when it hits, when it's on. And I watched Predator for the first time, and it was like, whoa, this is nuts. And I'm realizing there's a Predator 2, and I'd seen Predator 2 and not knowing. And that's where it all kind of came together. I was like, oh, I've seen a Predator movie without, oh, okay, so what had I seen? And then I had not seen Predator 2 for a long time, and I'd not seen it on TV like that time when I was much younger. So I asked for it for my birthday on DVD, and I got Predator 2 and watched it. And I saw the first chunk of it for the first time in my life, and that was my like favorite one for the longest time. And yeah, so I got sucked into those franchises, and then I started wanting the comic books, and there was an Alien versus Predator arcade not arcade game, PC game, AVP2, which opened up a whole nother world to me, where I was like doing online gaming for the first time in my life. It's where you had to type to chat, so you're having to be a fast texter at the same time as playing a game and getting shot at, and you're doing all these things. And I was surprisingly good at it back then. I don't think I could do it now. And that got me into the online communities of Alien and Predator, and wanted to talk about those games and find out how to be better, and also like meet people to play with. And eventually I got so into the franchises and the communities that I was asked by one of the site makers, Aaron, also known as Corporal Hicks online, to start a Alien and Predator podcast for avpgalaxy.net, which was one of my heavy rotation sites. And I've still been going to that site for over 20 years now, and to this day. And that site's grown and grown and grown. And
is it still .net?
Mm-hmm, yeah. And it's been going since it shut down for a little bit after the first AVP movie, because the owner hated it. It broke his heart, and I understand. But then he brought it back when the next AVP movie came out, and we never shut it down again. We've kept it going. But I became one of the site managers and helped Aaron with the podcast for a few years. And then my photography took over, but I still kept close with a couple people, mainly my buddy Adam, who took over for me with the podcast. And he and Aaron have kept it going strong ever since. Just a very good listen if you're an Alien and Predator fan. But that relationship has also kept me in contact with a lot of these people, and they're such a big site that they get interviews with a lot of people that make the movies or get in contact with them. So through them, I've managed to build these relationships with those people, and it's just been full circle. And because of that Alien and Predator website, I have had some of the coolest experiences in my life, and been invited to movie premieres and got to see Prey. But that was because of my photography, and also the AVP Galaxy, kind of the two of them combined made that invite happen. And was one of the first in the world to see that movie, and crazy, I've seen that movie 3 times in theaters because of that. And
me too. Once. Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's just kind of been that's been a kind of a through line through my life for a while now. Is that Alien versus Predator Galaxy.net, AVP Galaxy, and the people that help run it. And they're a lot of my best friends, because it's the length we've all known each other, and how we've all been through it, through bad movies, good movies, great games, bad games, dry spells. Yeah. So.
I would love to have Adam Zeller on the
Ridgetop
pod. Yes, Ridgetop. So, do you have a favorite horror movie?
Alien is probably if you want to consider that horror.
Right.
Yeah, that's also my favorite movie. But
we watched No One Will Save You. I always think it's You Can Save You or something. I don't know why.
You can be saved.
Hey, save yourself. No, we watched No One Will Save You last night, and we both had a very similar reaction, I want to say. We really enjoyed, I would say, the first half of the film, because the jumps and the suspense were all so well done and well timed. It was just the last half that was a little too whimsical for me, I still have a few questions, and I don't know. I feel like they were trying to stray from the norm, which is a huge feat, but I don't know. I would grade it a B, a solid B on like an A to F scale. What do you think?
But not a B movie.
No, because it was really well done.
It was a good movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think it might take another watch, which I don't really have a desire to do right now, or take some time to marinate some of the thoughts, because some of it, I think I said it last night, there were things to be desired, or didn't feel like all of these big ideas were completely fleshed out, and they didn't follow through with everything all the way. And maybe that's on purpose to leave it ambiguous at times and have you have your own interpretation. But then some things they just showed so much of that it was like, okay, why are you giving that to us but not this,
right,
or whatever?
Yeah, I agree.
With that, I don't want to give anything away because it's best to go in blind, because
yeah,
even the trailer gave a lot of the first half of the movie away. And I wish maybe I hadn't, because there were some jump scares I was fully expecting because of the trailer. But there was stuff in the second half that wasn't at all hinted at. But it's best to go on blind. It is a good watch, and I think a lot of people might have very split reactions. Some people might love it. Some people might come away like us. We're like, oh, it was good, but there's maybe more I got to think about, or it's going to marinate for a bit, or I need to watch it again, or maybe it just didn't jive with the ending or how it wrapped up. But they definitely took a swing, that's for sure. And maybe that's okay, and you just need to let that sit for a while, and you'll start to understand some things.
Yeah. So, what do you think is it that brings horror fans back over and over and over again? Why do we want to be scared? Why do we want to watch horror movies?
I think it could be a little different for everybody. Some people, for them, these movies don't scare them, but they give them almost a release for the stress that they deal with in their lives. These horror icons, or these monsters, or either the final girl, or whoever getting the victory or the kill, or whatever it be, that might be the therapeutic release for these people in a really crappy situation in life. And sometimes that little bit of entertainment is what they need. I think people see themselves a little bit in some of these slashers, or horror movies. Sometimes they might see a little bit of their crude humor in like a Freddy, or some people, if you want to take it like really literally, like the strength of Jason, him being an unstoppable force, or Michael Myers. Like some people really enjoy that and get, again, kind of like a cathartic release or a payoff in a way by watching these things. But then there is something about being tapped into the things that scare you and startle you, and it's fun. I like to think that horror should be fun, but then there is horror that does leave you after you watch it going, that wasn't fun, but it was good. Yeah. And that those are different kinds of horror movies. But sometimes, even if it's not fun, you might step away from it and go, that's fun in a different way.
Right.
But it gives us a thrill. The scare is always a thrill. Sometimes it might just be a jump scare. It might also be a psychological. You walk away from it and you're like disturbed or like creeped out, and you can't. Yeah, have to have the lights on or something like that, because it just tapped into that right primal fear or something, and that's maybe why, possibly. But monsters are cool too.
Monsters are great.
We've always had monsters in our mythology and histories and folklore. Yeah.
We have the classic Universal horror monster guys here. We're missing a couple, but who's your favorite of like the Universal monster movie icons?
Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Creature.
Yeah.
Neat. Why do you like Creature so much?
I don't know. He's different. He's not a. I mean, he looks like a man, but he's the least human out of all of them, and I think I've related to the least human of things.
But humanoid still.
Still humanoid, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, and there's also the tragedy of it, like being taken from his home, depending on which movie you're watching, and also the kind of getting a crush on a lady, and he's not kind of sure what he's seeing, and he wants to take her. It's kind of like that King Kong story too, where he's pulled away from his home, but there's also the woman involved, and just kind of confusing for the beast, and it's a tragic story for the beast. And those are always a little bit more relatable, I think.
Relatable how?
It could be many different things. It's like a sadness for them, like you can see it like with King Kong. He's like an animal taken away from his habitat. You see that with the Creature when he's studied in the labs and stuff, and you feel bad for them. So I guess relatable in that way. You can see it like an animal at a zoo that's not wanting to be there, or something like that, or performing, like especially with King Kong, where he's being put out on performance.
Like
sympathetic, yeah. But then there is also the Beauty and the Beast situation, where like you could get real weird with it and be like, some people relate to these monsters because they feel like they're the Beast and they won't ever be with the Beauty, kind of thing. And that's sad, but that is I've heard that so many times from people who are fans of monsters, and and stuff like that. And that's why I guess where I can say it's relatable in a way for some people too. Yeah. You could always see yourself in the monsters a little bit, or like with Godzilla, a lot of us little guys saw him as an inspiration because he was so tough and nothing made him back down. You always kind of took that as an inspiration.
Did you refer to yourself as a little guy?
Little guy. Little guys and little gals when we were little chillin'.
For the listener who's hearing all these weird sounds, Mike is playing with the Creature, moving him around, repositioning him, giving him different expressions and whatnot. It's entertaining. Oh my god. That's the expression he would have if he looked in the mirror. Yeah. Well, hey, I think that's enough.
Cool.
Enough already. Hey, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
And our friends.
Yeah, these are our friends. That doesn't make us seem sad.
We have no friends.
If you're ever wondering where we are, we're hanging out with our friends.
Our toy friends.
Can you see it? Nice. Cool. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in to the Horror Babe Show. I'm your host, Chelsea Beller, and it's been a pleasure. If you're listening, thanks. If you watched us, thanks. It's really fun doing this. I wasn't really sure whether to make this a YouTube channel or a podcast, and I decided, why not do both? ¿Por qué no los dos? This has been really cool, and I'm just, again, really impressed with how set up we are, and it makes me hopeful that this will turn into something. But even if it doesn't, I'm really happy just to be doing this and talking to people I love and people I care about and about all this stuff, because it's just fun. I love talking about horror. I love it so much. And I know you do too. So thanks. Oh yeah. Make sure to like, review, subscribe,
Comment.
I love good comment. Make sure to say, hey babe, if you enjoyed this. And if horror isn't your thing, but you came just to see what this is all about, we really appreciate that too. So make sure to like, review, comment, subscribe. You can learn all the updates and things on my Instagram at horrorbabeshow. Might be at the horrorbabeshow, but I don't think it is. And yeah, thanks guys. Bye, babe. Thank you so much for watching the Horror Babe Show. It means so much. Make sure to like, comment, review, follow, subscribe. Every little part counts. And you can find out more information about when we're posting our next episodes on Instagram at Horror Babe Show. So see you there. Bye, babe.